Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
The lower prices I can do. That's a belief. So, Vantage, as I started getting inquiries in, Vantage, that's one of the ways that I can work with companies, whether it's about hiring, right? Again, I expressed some beliefs. I expressed a mental model. Hiring is not about, you don't need to hire, you need to get work done. You need to change your team. Like, that's a belief about hiring. Whereas a lot of people have just the belief of like, I need to get this job done. I need to hire a person to fill this job. It's like, well, that's kind of a short-term view of it. And maybe you should just change the job, right? What you need to do is get work done. So that's what I mean by a mental model. And Vantage will work with companies who want to grow like Amazon or innovate like Amazon to apply some of the things that I've learned. And then I bring in associates and partners, often other ex-Amazon people or people that we've trained and vetted. One company I've worked with is eMAG in Romania. Romania is Eastern Europe, is one of the largest e-commerce, if not the largest and most well-known e-commerce marketplace in Eastern Europe. eMAG is the Amazon of Romania, perhaps. It's $1 billion plus marketplace. A lot of people don't have it clear, other than Dracula's castle, like, where's Romania? But it's an economy that's equivalent to Italy or Spain, actually growing a little bit faster than both. It's an accelerating economy. And I've been working with eMAG on how do they bring more selection and how do they grow their third-party marketplace? What can they learn from Amazon and other leaders so that they're not only best in Romania, but best in world? And so we've been doing some pilot programs with Vantage. So it's a Vantage project where we're helping them take a different point of view on some of their business processes to look at constraints and what constraints are they considering or could they change? Could be other components to change business process to grow like Amazon, looking at message flow, looking at policies, goals. But then we've come up with a pilot program that lets out-of-country sellers try selling in Romania without shipping pallets and pallets of good there first. So if they have a presence in Germany or Poland, we have a program that, so it could be an American seller who's put some stuff into Amazon Europe and their inventory is sitting in Germany or Poland. Great. We can make it pretty friction-free for you to list your products in Romania on the eMAG marketplace and see if there's customer interest for you. So you can kind of try before deciding to make a full supply chain into Romania. And so it was really like, we started from the question, we started from the mental model. Why do we have to have shipments into Romania to let sellers try to sell here? Could we do a great customer experience with a short enough ship time? It doesn't have to be weeks. That would allow people to keep their inventory wherever it is in Europe and still let them try to explore the marketplace. So that's a recent project that we've been working on there at eMAG.
Yeah, and so two things occur to me when I'm hearing you describe that. One is that it sounds like Vantage is very much focused on mindset, like you're acknowledging what a huge role mindset can play in your business. That there can be assumptions that you have about the business and the way that the business needs to operate that aren't necessarily true, and that if you can challenge those assumptions, you might find an opening for a whole new business model, or you might find an opening for a new market, or just greater success in marketing a product, because the assumption that was assumed to be true just isn't true.
Or it's changed, or it's not true for the slice, right? So one of the Amazon leadership principles is learn and be curious, that you keep validating your beliefs, right? You keep it, yep, we believe it's true, but we're going to keep validating it. So when Seller Fulfilled Prime launched at Amazon, that was a big mindset shift for Amazon. There were senior vice president who had said, over my dead body, will I ever have the Prime badge on a seller shipped item, right? And so what we had to look at was, well, if we could unlock that, that's that would be millions of new products that are now available for Prime at Amazon. Like we had to change the mindset. So then we had to say, like, what would we have to believe? Well, we'd have to believe that there are sellers who could ship Prime or parts of Prime with the same SLA. So we went and looked for it, right?
It's like,
we'd have to believe it'd be
unbelieve
valuable to the customer, right? Vantage is a lot about mindset, and that's probably where we spend the majority of work. But one of the things that I believe as well, mindset mode, is more is caught than taught, right? Those of your parents out there, you know this with your kids, right? You may try to teach them one thing, but if you don't do it, they're going to catch, right? More is caught than taught. So in our engagements with Vantage, we don't just want to be guys that, hey, let's have a good discussion, have a beer, and okay, let's think differently. We do try to come alongside. So we'll actually do the analysis with our clients to say, what would we believe? Or if we do get to, okay, now it has to be different. We like to equip our clients. So we did a project with eMag where they had not worked in a particular software technology, and they were nervous about going in a direction. We all agreed it was a better mindset direction to build some software in a different way with a different technology. So we put together a team at Vantage that not only would do the software, but do it with them, help them hire, help do some teaching along the way of how this software worked, so that when we left, not only did they have the new software, they had the new capability to run and operate the software. So we're about equipping our clients both with mindset and the capability to achieve the growth, the innovation and growth that they want to do.
Fantastic. And then, so I'd like to just shift it over a little bit. We were talking about innovation before. So I'm curious what role IP has played in a company like Amazon when they're innovating products, and more innovating processes than innovating products. So they're a very innovative product company. I mean, clearly they've taken over the world essentially through innovation. Like they innovated in a way, and just just a little aside here. I remember, like in my mind's eye, I could see the 60 Minutes interview of Jeff Bezos, where he was asked, or the comment was made, like, well, you realize that in order to be profitable, you need to sell every book in the world. And Jeff Bezos just like, because he had a bigger vision, right?
He's had the Library of Alexandria idea for years,
right.
So that's part of what drives Kindle, right? The mission of Kindle is every book ever published in 60 seconds or less. Mm-hmm. Make every book ever published. That's a great mission, right? It's not about the device. If you work backwards from the customer and go, who is my customer and what is the need? Not what's the product, but what's the need they have? That's going to lead you to a different place. So that's how you get Kindle, right? It's not Kindle's there. I mean, yes, the device is great and we love the device, but it's and Amazon's proud of the device, but it's about how do I fulfill that mission of every book ever published 60 seconds? What would I need to do? And that led to other business decisions, right? Because Kindle it's not like Apple early days where it's like, oh, this book is only available on Kindle. No, you want to read it on your phone? Great, because it makes it available to you fast. You want to read it in Kindle software on your laptop? Great, it'll make it available to you fast, right? That idea of meeting the customer need versus focusing on your product or device, that's very Amazon. Work backwards from what does the customer need and then service it better than anybody else.
Absolutely. And so again, from that spirit of innovation, it's like there was a role that IP played in helping the company grow. And so I'm curious about really like how that worked together. Like, what did you see with the way in which Amazon prioritized IP in helping to grow the company?
Yeah. Amazon starts with, just like good gardening, Amazon starts with soil. It's an environment that supports, and there's lots of Jeff quotes, or which could just be Amazon quotes. It's okay to fail. Like we learn, the only failure is failure to learn. Like we're willing to be misunderstood for a long time. We'll let things play out for a while. So that's good environment. We want to be curious, how would this work out? Be customer focused, think big, like all these, the leadership principles of Amazon, like what's the culture we want to have as a company? And, how does that work into the rewards of people? What are your performance goals, et cetera? that creates a nice garden compost, nice good environment for innovation to occur. But then you want to pay attention to what's going on, market positioning, et cetera. And at some point early in my time at Amazon, so maybe it's kind of like late, right around 2010, 2007, Amazon noticed that they had less patents than maybe some of their competitors. And that's a risk, because it's less about, hey, we want to go sue other people on patents, like, we could potentially be exposed to be sued. So it was a short-term initiative, which really helped because it trained a lot of employees. I never thought about getting a patent. It wasn't something like, I should go get a patent. But Amazon said, hey, we want you to think about, when you're inventing, how does the invention become an asset for Amazon? So I pointed out earlier, like, you got these blurs over my shoulder. Amazon started a process that, hey, we're going to reward all employees, get a nice little plastic trophy if you get a patent submission, and a blue one if you get a patent accepted. So somehow I got 11 patents out of this deal. What I started doing with my teams and project is, in the project kickoff meeting, we started going, what's potentially patentable in how we build this, or what we build. And many of my patents are actually around algorithms. It's not like I invented, some of Amazon's patents are crazy. A dirigible that's going to launch drones, and but
the one click, right?
Yeah, one click was a long time defensible patent.
Yeah.
And obviously Amazon didn't go sue people for one click. It's like, really, maybe it was a patent office mistake in early days, but it made sure Amazon wasn't sued over one click.
It was great PR though.
Yeah.
It positioned them in a certain way.
So we had a great environment for innovation. IP started changing how I ran my projects with my teams. At the kickoff meeting, we'd started going, and that would force us to think about, what are different ways we could do this? What is the core problem? How are other people solving it? And how could we solve it better? Right? It made us think differently, going, what's the potential for a patent here? And then we would fire those off even before the project started to the patent team, because we'd been trained that was an easier way to get patents. Don't go research everything. Don't go get started on a prototype. Actually start, just let us see early days. And then, it also made a great cross-functional with teams, because like most of the co-named people on my team or on my patents were not on my team. We would come together for an ad hoc project, people with the same interest or the same idea. And so it reinforced a good environment for innovation, because we looked across departments, like, I wonder if we could do this. Who should I talk to? Hey, let's just grab a beer and pizza session, at the end of the day with these 3 people. Let's brainstorm it, write it up, submit it to the patent office. Because we thought like that, I've got a couple of stories that you and I talked about previously about actually applying that in a couple of ways within Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I know one you had told me about had to do with artificial intelligence related to Prime Day.
Yeah. As Amazon made a move into data science and really pushing machine learning and going fast, that also became an approach. Some of my patents around algorithms. I'm not actually sure if we patented this one, but it was definitely, or what patents we may have gotten, but it was definitely intellectual property. We may not have gotten the patent because we just moved so fast to build it. The first Prime Day had a bit at Amazon, bit of a garage sale reputation, right? Those are some of the news articles, like Amazon's garage sale in July, which really Amazon was trying to kind of build the same kind of event as Singles Day in China. So it's not the reputation Amazon wanted. So that first Prime Day, we couldn't really tell. We're going out to recruit deals. Can't really tell the sellers and vendors what the event is. Can't really tell them how much. We want your biggest, deepest discounts. So it was a pull approach. And I was given the challenge of, hey, it's January. We're going to do Prime Day again. I want you to go build a workflow that recruits the deals we have for Prime Day and year round, but let's start with Prime Day, and take into account what we know versus what our sellers and vendors know, right? We know what our sellers and vendors carry. We know what customer interest, we have more signals and customer interest on that. We also know a little bit more about price elasticity because we've been watching, or we're tracking kind of how price elasticity works. So aren't we better positioned to recommend to sellers and vendors the products they should put on promotion with the best potential for customers to buy them, the actual level of price discount we recommend them to take. So we built a workflow and AI algorithms to do that for Prime Day 2, and that's continued to be involved in Prime Day 3. I think we did a few patent submissions on that, but really was the IP part of it was, what should the algorithms be? How do we test it fast? How do we take in our best human signals to turn that into a unique workflow that's powered by key intellectual property from different places across the company, right? I was talking for price elasticity, I was talking to the leader of the pricing team. For customer interest, I was talking to my predecessor on the detail page team. And then pulling that together to make a workflow and to make an algorithm and a structured process. That's what we ended up doing.
Yeah.
We got better news articles out of the second Prime Day.
Amazing. And then overall, like kind of what Amazon did was they positioned themselves as a leader in the patent space too. They realized that benchmarking themselves against other companies that had larger patent portfolios led to them just wanting to be a leader. And that's kind of what they did, is they grew their portfolio to not be behind, but to be in the lead.
Yeah, for sure.
And so moving into the present day then, so now with Foundry, what role is IP? So with Foundry, you're acquiring brands who have either done a little bit of work on IP or a lot of work with protecting their IP, or somewhere in between. Now, what role is IP playing in vetting these brands for acquisition, and kind of what should brands know about IP to position themselves for sale?
As we evaluate founders and brands to acquire, part of what we like is we're going to be fairly selective in what we acquire, but we want to serve all of them, even if it's just, hey, we've reviewed your brand and here's some feedback. It's not necessarily a fit for us, or we're not even sure it's a time for you to sell. Like maybe this is the wrong exit window. You might try the strategy X or Y and exit later after you complete it. IP is part of that due diligence. When we're looking at products, a founder has said, we're looking at a couple things. We're looking at what's the current risk to, I love it when people complain about Amazon using data to copy a seller's stuff, because I'm like, sellers do that all day, right? Every seller I know always pays attention to their competitors. They pay attention to top selling products. So how well positioned with IP is your product against being copied? Because the better position you are, whether it's Amazon brand registry, whether it's patents, the better positioned you are to protect yourself with some moats. You can't avoid copycats, but you can help slow them down, or you can help get them off the platform, right? If you're well protected, you have, in the US anyway, you have redress options. And you have options even where Amazon can take someone out if you're well enough protected. So when we may look at, have they had patent submissions? Have they evaluated patents? Do they have their designs well documented? Do they have the inputs that are there in order to file for a patent? Are they prepared to get a patent? And so we look at how well positioned they are to protect their IP and what their risk is for IP infringement from others. That feeds into our diligence. And then within our own company, Foundry, we're taking the same way that I built at Amazon, and our team, our team of building technology in our core platforms, our technology and data platforms. That's a differentiator we're going to have with brand aggregator companies. I built things like Selling Coach at Amazon, or other automated pricing tools or automated workflow tools. I know how to optimize conversion for the detail page because we built some of those algorithms. We want to be able to scale with software versus people, and we want to help these brands accelerate their growth, right? We want Foundry to be the best place for an earnout. If you're looking at your risk of or your potential for a big for earnout as part of your acquisition price, our software and our IP, our software and processes, in addition to our team's experience, are going to help reinforce that, right? We want to grow the brands that we buy. And so the algorithms and the process that we put in place are our Foundry IP that we're starting from day one to go, how do we scale and how do we build effectiveness?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's kind of like what you're doing or the lens through which you're looking at the brands that you're acquiring also applies at home for how you're operating the company, and you're looking to innovate processes that would help to grow those brands and then to make them exclusive, to make them proprietary, to help make it be the calling card that sets you apart and differentiates you, and then at the same time something that is exclusive to you or proprietary.
Absolutely. One thing Amazon does is kind of a trifecta of what you just mentioned. They also find ways for other people to use some of they externalize, but black box some of their stuff, right? So whenever we built internal tools at Amazon, we evaluated the IP, but we also evaluated the opportunity to externalize that service via AWS, right? So some of Amazon's A/B testing capabilities you can do through Seller Central, where they're not showing you all the sausage making or they're not showing you the IP, but they're giving you an opportunity to use it through a service. So when you're talking about use at home, I thought you were talking about me because, my wife and I we have 7 kids. I got to scale.
Right, exactly.
We have to solve problems a different way. We're traveling.
You have found the way to scale a family. Yes, you've scaled successfully.
My wife's fantastic. So yeah, we got to buy 9 airplane tickets to travel somewhere. That's the easy part. How do we handle ground transportation?
Yeah, the hard part is getting 9 seats together.
So the funny part there is I'm also, when we travel, sometimes I'm looking at apps like Turo, which do car sharing, or I'm looking at band bus rentals because
you're looking to rent like a 16-passenger van.
Yeah. In Hawaii, it's surfing vans, and in big cities, it's who rents band buses.
Right.
A little
we get a
different.
Sprinter? Was it just a Ford passenger van there? Like, what can we get?
We drive a Sprinter, so we're big fans.
Yeah, I love Sprinters myself. I mean,
my wife loves that vehicle.
So, well, this is really awesome. And if people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you, how do they go about doing so?
I'm super easy to contact on LinkedIn, Stefan Haney at LinkedIn. Or my company, again, is Vantage. So our website is vantageleader.com. So I'm Stefan at vantageleader.com. Awesome.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking the time to share some of your background, share some of your insights, and also the exciting things that you're up to these days. So just thanks so much for being on the program and sharing all of that.
Thank you, Rich. I love helping people innovate, and I'm super glad for your podcast, giving people inspiration to do the same.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.